For many people looking to buy a home in Georgia, the biggest barrier is not the mortgage payment. It's scraping together the down payment and closing costs. You can afford the monthly payment, but coming up with $15,000 or $20,000 sitting in the bank, that's the real problem. Georgia Dream gives you up to $12,500 as a 0% interest loan with no monthly payment. You only pay it back when you sell or refinance, meaning you can buy now and settle up later. I'm going to walk you through exactly how this program works, who qualifies, and how to combine it with other loan types to minimize out-of-pocket costs. Georgia Dream offers two main second mortgage options, and understanding which one you qualify for determines how much assistance you receive. The standard program provides up to $10,000 for first-time buyers or anyone who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years. That $10,000 can go towards your down payment, closing costs, or prepaids, whichever helps you get to the closing table with less cash out of pocket. The PEN program is where you get more assistance. It stands for Protectors, Educators, and Nurses. So if you work as a police officer, firefighter, any branch of the military, a teacher, school employee, healthcare, including pharmacy techs, lab techs, home health workers, then you can qualify for up to $12,500 instead of $10,000. Both programs work the same way. It's a silent second mortgage that sits behind your first mortgage with 0% interest and no monthly payment. It's only due when you sell, refinance, or if the property stops being your primary residence, meaning you move out and convert it to a rental. Then the loan will become due. You're not making payments on it while you live there. The metro Atlanta area, which includes Cherokee County, has the highest income limits in Georgia for this program. The limit here is $130,290 for one or two people living in the house, or $149,833 for three or more people in the household. That makes this program accessible to more buyers than you'd think, especially compared to other counties where the income limits are much lower. For the Athens area, the income limit is $113,160 if there's one or two people in the household, and $132,020 for households of three or more. And for all other Georgia counties, the income limit's $98,400 for one or two people, and $113,160 if there will be three or more people living in the household. Let me give you an example. A teacher in Canton qualified for the PEN program and used the full $12,500 to cover most of her closing costs on a $285,000 home. With the program and negotiations, she walked into closing with just $1,000 of her own money. Without Georgia Dream, she would have needed close to $18,000 to close that deal. Another example, a first-time buyer couple in Woodstock used a standard $10,000 assistance on an FHA loan for a $310,000 home. Their total out-of-pocket at closing was $3,500 instead of $18,500 that they would have needed without the program. That's the difference between buying now and waiting another couple years or so to save. Meanwhile, prices are going up. Another key detail many people miss is sellers can still contribute up to 6% towards your closing costs when you use Georgia Dream. So that means you can negotiate seller concessions on top of the assistance and reduce the cash to close even further. In some cases, buyers are walking away from closing with only that minimum $1,000 contribution. The strategic advantage here is simple. You're getting into a home with minimal cash while preserving your savings for furniture, emergencies, and life after closing. You're not draining your bank account just to get the keys. So now that you know more about the program that might be a fit for you, let's talk about a powerful combination that a lot of people don't know exists. Layering Georgia Dream with a USDA loan to get into a home with almost no money down and minimal closing costs. USDA loans offer zero down payment, which sounds perfect, but here's the challenge most buyers don't anticipate or they forget about. You still got to have cash for closing costs. Prepaids, taxes, insurance, that's where strategy comes in. I'm going to show you a map of the USDA eligibility area for Georgia, and we're going to zoom in on the eligible areas around Cherokee County. You can layer Georgia Dream assistance on top of a USDA loan to cover nearly all of these costs. This combination is one of the most powerful tools available for buyers in many parts of northern Cherokee County and above, where USDA loan eligibility still exists in areas like Ball Ground, Valeska, parts of Canton, and all of Bartow County and Pickens County are eligible for a USDA loan. Let me walk you through a scenario where you can see exactly how this works. You're looking at a $350,000 home in Ball Ground that qualifies for a USDA loan. Because it's eligible for USDA, you don't need a down payment, but you still have closing costs to deal with. Closing costs on a $350,000 USDA loan typically going to run several $1,000s. That includes loan origination fees, title work, appraisal, inspections, prepaids for property taxes, homeowners insurance, and the USDA guarantee fee that gets rolled into the loan. Now apply Georgia Dream Assistance. If you qualify for the standard program, you get $10,000. If you're a teacher, nurse, firefighter, any other PEN eligible profession, you get $12,500. That $10,000 or $12,500 covers most or all of the closing costs. You're only required to bring a minimum of $1,000 of your own funds to the transaction. That's it. Here's the math. On that $350,000 home, let's say your closing costs come into around $9,000 or $10,000. You use the $10,000 from the Georgia Dream Standard Assistance to cover those costs. Your out-of-pocket contribution at closing is $1,000. Total cash needed to buy the home for $350,000, $1,000. If you qualify for PEN and you get $12,500, the numbers get even better. Your closing costs are covered, and you may have funds left over that can go towards prepaids or principal reduction. Your out-of-pocket is still just that $1,000 minimum. But here's where it gets even more strategic. Sellers can still contribute up to 6% towards closing costs with Georgia Dream. If you negotiate a seller concession, say the seller agrees to contribute $5,000, that $5,000 can cover part of your closing costs, and the Georgia Dream Assistance covers the rest. In some cases, that brings your total out-of-pocket down to nearly zero, beyond the required $1,000. Here's an example. Family moving to Ball Ground. They used the USDA loan combined with Georgia Dream PEN assistance on a $340,000 home. Their closing costs came into around $9,000. They used the full $12,500 PEN assistance to cover those costs and applied the remaining funds towards prepaids. Total out-of-pocket, $1,200. Without Georgia Dream, they would have needed close to $10,000 cash to close. And like many people, they didn't have that just sitting in the bank. This program made that purchase possible. So the strategic advantage here is clear. You're getting into a home with minimal cash while preserving your savings for furniture, repairs, and emergencies that may come up after you move in. You're not liquidating your entire savings account just to get the keys. This combination works good because both programs are designed to help the same buyer profile. People who can afford the monthly payment but don't have a large pile of cash saved up. USDA removes the down payment barrier. Georgia Dream removes the closing costs barrier. Now let's clear up the mess and cover exactly what you need to qualify, because there's a lot of confusion out there about income limits, credit scores, and how competitive that you actually are when you're using this program. The minimum credit score requirement is 640 FICO score. If you're close but not quite there yet, ask me about the Ready, Set, Go program. It's designed to help you get your credit score up so you can qualify for Georgia Dream down the road. So income limits for Cherokee County are $130,290 for a 1 or 2 person household, or $149,833 for 3 or more people. Here's an important detail most people miss. These are household income limits. That means everyone living in the home counts, even if they're not on the loan. So if your spouse is not going to be on the mortgage, but still lives in the house, their income still counts towards the limit. If your adult child lives with you, their income counts. This trips people up more than anything else. Asset limits are straightforward but often misunderstood. You can have up to $20,000 in liquid assets or 20% of the purchase price, whichever is greater. Liquid assets means cash in the bank, stocks, or anything that you can easily convert to cash. Here's the good news. Retirement accounts like your 401k or your IRA do not count towards this limit. You can have $50,000 in your 401k and still qualify as long as your checking and savings accounts are under the limit. You must bring at least $1,000 of your own funds or documented gift money to the transaction. That's non-negotiable. The program requires you to have some skin in the game. You'll also need to complete a homebuyer education course. It's a short online class that takes about an hour through an approved agency. This must be completed before closing. It's required for the Georgia Dream loans. No big deal. Now let's bust up some myths that stop people from even trying. Myth number 1. Using Georgia Dream makes you less competitive as a buyer. That's false. With our preferred lenders who specialize in Georgia Dream, right now we're seeing buyers close in as little as 15 to 20 days, significantly faster than the outdated reputation this program once had. Lender technology and the Department of Community Affairs' improved systems have cut approval times dramatically. So you're not at a disadvantage in a multiple offer situation when you work with a lender who knows this program inside and out. Myth number 2, the process takes forever. Not anymore. Georgia Dream used to have a reputation for slow turnarounds, but that's outdated information. With the right lender, you're looking at a standard 30 to 45 day close, which is normal for any mortgage transaction. Some lenders are closing these loans much faster than that, sometimes even faster than conventional loans. Myth number 3, you'll get rejected because you have some savings. Not true if your liquid assets are under the limit. Remember, your 401k doesn't count. If you have $15,000 in savings and $40,000 in retirement accounts, you're good. The asset limit only applies to liquid funds that you can access immediately. Okay, here's what happens at closing. You get your first mortgage, whether that's a FHA, VA, USDA, or conventional, and the Georgia Dream second mortgage is recorded as a silent lien. No payment is required until you sell or refinance. You make your regular monthly payment on your first mortgage just like any other homeowner would. The second mortgage sits there at a 0% interest rate with no monthly obligation. As we start to wrap up, I want to make something clear. This stuff can get complicated. There's numerous factors that affect eligibility for various programs. If you're considering a move in a year or two, it is not too early to reach out to me. Everything I do is based on strategy to help you get the best results every time, and I love doing it. The more time we have to develop a plan, the better off that you will be. Little things that you could be doing now before the move that you probably don't even think about can make a big difference and put you in a much better position down the road. Think of it like going to the doctor to get a checkup versus waiting until the last minute and having to deal with surprise complications. Now, if you're like most people, you'll probably wait until you're ready to start looking at homes before you contact me, and that's fine. But if you have time, I strongly encourage you to reach out early. You'll be glad you did. I do this stuff every day, and I know how to make the best of your unique situation. So to wrap up, Georgia Dream is a strategic tool that makes homeownership possible now instead of forcing you to wait years to save a down payment. Buyers in Cherokee County, surrounding counties, and all over Georgia are using this program right now to get into homes with as little as $1,000 out of pocket. Fill out the down payment assistance form that's linked down below in the description. It takes 2 minutes and it'll give you a much clearer picture of exactly which programs you qualify for based on your situation. Don't assume that you can't afford to buy until you see the numbers with Georgia Dream factored in.